Good Monday afternoon. My name is Jerry Miller. Welcome to the I Love CVille Show. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. Good show lined up for you. We're spotlighting the community from every category, every niche, every group, every neighborhood, every cluster. The restaurant community has been hit very hard. We've seen innovation in the restaurant community, whether it's a prioritization on takeout and delivery, whether it's Wilson Ritchie at the Whiskey Jar encouraging the members of his dishwashing team to start, instead of a washing business of plates and kitchen utensils, to start a car wash behind the restaurant. That's what's going on right now. Innovation is the name of the game in the time of hardship. Kate Ellwood's our guest in 27 minutes. She's local. She's previously the assistant general manager of Citizen Burger Bar at the Downtown Mall. She started a fund, the Charlottesville Restaurant Fund. We're going to spotlight her innovation. The Charlottesville Restaurant Fund, last I checked, and I'm going to go to the Facebook page, has got some serious bank in it. So kudos to Kate, philanthropic mindset, social entrepreneur mindset, and she's creating a donation vehicle for the community to help the waiters, the busboys, the bus gals, the bartenders, the barkeeps, the bar managers, the expo, kitchen manager, whatever it may be, line cook, whatever it may be. And we're spotlighting that journey. We're also going to talk with Clare Terni. She's going to join us in about 2 minutes. And she's a veteran in the industry. Now she's kind of at the educational level. She's a researcher. I'm going to kind of spotlight this industry from her perspective. She's seen the nuances, the in and outs of it. We're going to welcome her to the program in about 90 seconds. This is a great platform. We're trying to make this community-centric. Whole plan of this platform is community-centric and showcasing the best of Charlottesville, Virginia. We are an advertising agency, and we work with great clients from our satellite office in New Providence, New Jersey, all the way to Asheville, North Carolina. But our home is in Charlottesville in the Downtown Mall. Our heart is in Charlottesville on the Downtown Mall. And two of our favorite clients are Interstate Pest and Service Companies and Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. They're big time. They're great for the community. We encourage you to support the businesses that are supporting the community, and those two are certainly doing it. Judah's our director. Judah, I'm going to go ahead and get Clare on the line from a Skype standpoint, giving you a heads up for that. She should be on the line. In fact, she's going to be on the line in about 10 seconds. Clare, get the camera turned around if you could. Fantastic. You look great. The lighting's awesome. We'll welcome you to the program in about 10 seconds. Kate Ellwood's going to join us at the 1 o'clock marker. You can offer your prospective audience and viewers and friends of this program by leaving it in the comments section. I'll relay them on air to our guests. I have Clare on the line. Judah, you ready to rock and roll? Judah is ready to rock and roll. All right, we welcome Clare to the show. First, thank you for joining us. I'm going to get out of your way. Why don't we cut to the chase before we do? A little bit about you. Who is Clare Terni, and what is she all about?
I was not prepared for this question. So I worked in restaurants in Charlottesville for about 10 years. I've worked elsewhere for other places before that. Right now, I am a social science researcher, and I teach anthropology at James Madison.
Fantastic. So you have perspective you can offer from being on the lines, front lines. Friday night, shit is hitting the fan. There's 100 too many covers. Everyone's in the weeds and stressed out. You also have a perspective you're going to offer from an anthropology standpoint and just studying human behavior. I'm going to get out of your way. COVID-19 has currently, and we hope, Clare, it's short term, has destroyed the restaurant industry.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
show's yours. Anywhere you want to go.
Okay. So thanks for giving me this opportunity. This is something I think about a lot. I think it's easy for people in restaurants to say this, but it may be hard to communicate it to people who are outside. But when you work in a stressful environment, right, and one that you don't have a lot of control over, which if you're a restaurant server, that's your environment, right. Like no control.
Right.
You become really close to the people you work with. And one of the things that I really appreciate about restaurants is, you know, when you teach college, you meet a lot of people who are like you and who have the same background or who have something in common with you. And in restaurants, you meet people who have so many different past, so many different things that have brought them to the restaurant. And so that is why I feel really strongly about trying to help restaurants during COVID-19. So if we think about what's happening, first, restaurants were asked to severely limit, to really cut back the number of people they had sitting down at any one time. And most places in Charlottesville, out of an abundance of caution, actually stopped serving in the restaurant at all. So more people went to go, order online, delivery, and so on. And that was a change that was, I think, starting to happen. Services like Grubhub and DoorDash made it possible. But people still really wanted that experience of coming in and sitting down with their friends, or going to a bar, right, and sitting down and talking with their friends. So as we started to understand more about how COVID-19 was transmitted, right, the restaurant experience disappeared. Okay, the thing that we have left is the food, and that's kind of it. And we're serving way less of that. There are some restaurants for whom they can't easily translate what they make into takeaway food. So I did do a little bit of research and thinking about, so there's two things I have to say, first of all. The first is that there is a difference between serving and people in the back of house, right? So people who are on the line cooking, cleaning up, and so on. Their salary might be slightly lower than front of house, but it's more consistent. Right. You're paid an hourly rate, right? So when you think about how much money people are losing, sometimes it's a little hard to compare front and back of house, right? So the people out front, the servers, their income is more unpredictable. It's also a little hard to tell because servers' tips aren't always declared, right? If you're supposed to declare them,
no one does.
You might not. So anyway, but the average server in Charlottesville, to somebody working full time, they're making about $30,000 a year, and plenty of servers, plenty of people in the back of house that I know work more than one job. So you find people who are working like 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week, sometimes less. And those jobs are just gone. I think that is what is hard for someone outside the industry too to understand. Like, it's not just you work less or you can work from home. The job is gone. And the thing that the way that people compensate is to apply for unemployment, although that was hard to do initially because none of us really knew how long this was going to last. Right. Like, were we going to be closed for 2 weeks? What was going to happen? So now there are hundreds of thousands of people applying for unemployment. State of Virginia is totally overwhelmed. Their website, like, we can't help you. And I think that the reality of the situation is becoming apparent to more and more of us. And that's true for me. It's true for everyone I know. So you have more people applying for unemployment. The good thing about the CARES Act that just got passed is that everybody will get another $600 a week of unemployment, which is great because, again, if you can't, if you were stringing a bunch of different jobs together, which a lot of us do, it was hard to get enough unemployment. And as most folks know who've been on unemployment, it's not really enough to live on. It's supposed to be, but it's
Let me
not.
throw this to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Clare Terni, guys, our guest. She's kind enough to join us here. We're just talking two people having a conversation about the restaurant industry in a COVID-19 world. That's all we're doing here. Have you thought, and I know you have, you're a researcher, you study human behavior here. Mm-hmm. Restaurant world, once we're on the other side of this, I'm a positive guy.
Mm-hmm.
When we're on the other side of this, the restaurant world, will we want to enjoy restaurants in the same capacity? Will there be the need of the depth or the volume of servers we currently have? Will it be more of a takeout, fast casual manner? Will seating be cut in half in restaurants because people want serious 6-foot buffers? I mean, will these jobs ever come back to the full force they once were 60 days ago?
So I want to say yes.
Okay. Is that because you're a positive person?
It's because
Because we're desperate?
believe in the resiliency of people I work with. The people I work with are the hardest working, help each other out. Like, if they can help you, they will. So part of me thinks like, yeah, we're going to, sort this out and take care of it. But folks like, David Chang at Momofuku, right? This juggernaut of American cuisine is saying he doesn't think they're going to survive. It's not going to come back. As you said, I think that fast casual, that food that is easily taken home, I think that fits into a model of living that we were already sort of headed towards, which is you exercise at home with Peloton, you get Seamless delivered, you watch Netflix on your own, but you can only do those things if you have money. So my research colleagues and I, right, that's the sort of place we're at, is thinking about like, oh yes, I can pay enough and I can bring these things into my home. But if you don't have that option, you're not going to be able to participate in this, right? And so one of the positive things that I think might happen, if I think about like the most absolutely greatest thing that could happen, is sometimes when restaurant workers argue for more money, right? Now, we talked about the $15 living wage, right? When restaurant workers argue for more money, you can get this adversarial relationship between owners and workers. And the owners are saying like, we can't pay you that. We don't have enough profit margin and so on. And now we're in a situation where owners and employees are in trouble. And so maybe this is the time when we collectively say to our fellow citizens, listen, if you value restaurants, you got to step up. Now is the time to buy gift cards. Now is the time to reach out to the restaurant directly and find out how you can help. Now is the time to donate to the James Beard Foundation that's providing grants and loans to small restaurants, right? I think that, so there's an opportunity to work together, but I also think that we are, as a society, confronting the real cost of our food, because you have grocery store clerks, right, who people say, oh, it's a meaningless job, blah, 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 you should just pay the minimum wage. Those are the people that are keeping us alive right now. The line cooks in kitchens are keeping us alive. The pharmacists and the people who work at Amazon, right, all of those folks who do work that's often written off, right, they are central. And so, again, this is my, like, if everything in the world was wonderful, we would start to understand the true value of other people's work and of the food we eat. Thinking from like all the way from how much did it cost to raise this pig to how much should we pay someone to cook it for us. That is very optimistic. But you have to believe in something.
We do. Clare Terni, our guest, she's killing it. I'm going to throw this question to you. Let's do this really micro level. Okay. What does Charlottesville, Virginia's restaurant landscape, and what does Charlottesville, Virginia itself look like when we're on the other side of COVID-19? When this is manageable, when consumer and confidence is there, when human behavior is back to being outside in groups and with other people? Mm-hmm. What do restaurants look like in Charlottesville? And what does Charlottesville itself? To Charlottesville itself first.
Okay. So I am totally impressed and honored that somebody thinks that I know that. Like,
I'm sure you thought about it, though.
I don't even know. I have, in a sort of, like I watched 28 Days Later, that apocalypse movie. Like I thought about that. But I think that, first of all, a challenge is we don't know how long this will last. And of course, with businesses, any kind of business, how long it lasts is going to affect its resiliency, right? Can you float for however long? So I think a lot will depend on the university and whether the university gets fired up and starts bringing students back, brings faculty back, and so on. I think that maybe the sort of outdoor businesses and activities that we have will come back quickly. So wineries, places you can sit outside, stuff like the Rivanna River Company, and go rafting. Because I think people will be a little bit...
They're outside.
Happy.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're far away from people, right? All of I think, I think our sort of emphasis on activity will shift towards doing things outdoors. Virginia doesn't get super cold in the winter. I am very curious about what UVA will decide to do. And I think in terms of restaurants, I think we're going to have fewer of them, honestly. In a worst case scenario, the only ones that survive are the large chain restaurants, right? That can absorb long-term being closed long-term. And I think that the sort of small individual, locally owned businesses of any kind, I think might have trouble coming back. So UVA, chain restaurants, and outdoors is going to be great. Other things, I think it's hard to tell.
I agree with a lot of that. I'm going to throw it back to you with this. The chain restaurants have a huge advantage now because they have the back-end infrastructure, the economies of scale. They have deep pockets. Yep. In some cases, they're publicly traded and relying on, outsiders' money. The local mom and pops are what makes Charlottesville unique. So this is what I see Charlottesville's value proposition being. This is what I'm going to throw to you. Charlottesville, what separates Charlottesville and why Charlottesville was getting all that press as the best place to live in America, USA Today, remember back in the day when we were getting all that press. Right.
I remember.
So it was clear. It was our restaurants. It was UVA. It was outdoors, like you said. It was the breweries. It was the wineries. It was the downtown mall. It was the music scene. Okay. And where I'm going with this is like, I think we have to, and you've already touched on this, we really have to rally as a community to support this particular sector. And why I'm emphasizing it so much, because it's so fragile and such in this precarious purgatory-like position where it can tumble to hell or it can go to the pearly gates here. And what it needs is us to patronize the business. But here's the problem. Is we don't have the money to do it. We're concerned if the money's going to keep coming in from our employer, right? So we're tightening up on the short term, which is going to hurt potentially the mom and pop and the small business owner. So where I'm going with this is it's crazy to think about Charlottesville and this community, and I'll get out of your way, go anywhere you want, without having the 9th or 14th or 4th most restaurants per capita in the country. And
Sure.
I 100% agree with what you said, that it's going to get whittled down. Like a world where there aren't as many restaurants and the music scene isn't as robust and students potentially start learning online instead of being in Charlottesville proper is a crazy world to think about. Anywhere you want to go.
So let me think. Well, the first thing about Charlottesville being the #1 city in America, it's a great place to live if you are white and reasonably affluent. It can be a very hard place to live if you're not. So when we think about supporting small businesses, supporting restaurants, we need, if you have money, you need to think about all of the restaurants, right? To me, you need to be actively seeking opportunities to maybe go to a restaurant you haven't been before, to look for opportunities to patronize a wide variety of establishments. Okay, so that's the first.
You're basically saying think Fleury restaurant, think Mel's, it can't just be the Fleury's of the world.
And if you are, call me, because I would like to, eat really expensive dinners all the time. Like,
Me too.
Just call me. I also, like, physically, I can't eat enough by myself to keep the restaurants of Charlottesville afloat. So I think that we need to be mindful of that. I'm also really struck by the fact, when I think about small businesses, mom and pops, right? I am the fourth generation of my family who will inherit a small business.
Cool.
Yes. So, which, like, if there's one thing my dad taught me, it's that you should respect the work that everyone does, which is helpful in a restaurant because you got to respect everybody's hustle. So, oh man, now I got lost oh yes. Okay. So the restaurant industry, right? All these mom and pops don't necessarily have bargaining power with the federal government. So the airlines have gone to the federal government and said, oh my God, COVID-19, it's killing us. You got to give us money. So in terms of thinking about using our political leverage, like we as citizens, that's probably something we should think about, is lobbying our congressional representatives for financial support for small businesses. And I think this is a problem for me. I've been very distractible lately. So I think we need to lobby for that. And I honestly, I don't know where to go past that. I do think, looking back on something like Shenandoah National Park, right, has a very controversial history. However, it was built in part by the Works Progress Administration. So, what if we had national programs that could put people to work, building infrastructure that we know in the U.S. needs so much repair? What if we could have people helping out, all those folks who know how to cook, like they could get jobs providing food aid, because that needs to happen. But I think if we want small businesses to survive, I think it's going to take some help from the federal government, because they're helping everybody else. But that's I suppose that's political, but in a sort of large scale analysis, that I'm not sure that we as citizens, as our incomes decline, can continue to prop up all of these businesses.
I'm worried about the same. I'm worried about the same. And I think what you've seen happening with the restaurants is the restaurants in Charlottesville, and I know many of the restaurateurs, they're close personal friends. When this initially happened a couple of weeks ago and they went to a takeout curbside model, they got flooded with delivery and takeout orders, absolutely flooded. And what's happening now is it's tapering down. And you're hearing and seeing restaurants on Facebook. Another recent one that just did this was Public Fish and Oyster in Midtown. Daniel chose to close the restaurant as opposed to continue moving forward in a takeout and curbside manner. He's going to honor the gift cards that were purchased before he closed when he opens back up again. So that's good right there. I'm going to close on this note. Okay, I'm going to close on this note. I'm so grateful for your time. If you have a lot of servers, a lot of people, a lot of restaurant industry folk watching, waiters, waitresses, servers, I'm going to be frank. I think what's going to happen when we're on the other side of this is there's going to be a lot less opportunity for work in a waiter or server capacity, particularly when we're on the other side of COVID-19, because it's going to be still more takeout delivery and people hesitant to dine out because consumer confidence isn't there, and people are going to want a little breathing room from an elbow-to-elbow standpoint in their dining room, so potentially a need for less servers on the floor. The advice that you would offer the servers that are watching, last question here, from my standpoint, it's pivot, innovate, get better. Maybe potentially consider another avenue with a restaurant that you can contribute to, because I see the server job as the most vulnerable in this entire thing. You're still going to need line cooks. We're still going to need people cooking and preparing the food. We're still going to need people making and mixing the drinks. We're still going to need that. We're going to need less of the servers is what I'm seeing.
So I think that's possible. I do think that is something. I think people will miss it. I think people will miss having a sit-down dinner with a server. I think servers are one of those people you don't appreciate until you don't have one, or until you have a not really great one. I would say that there's a great. Am I allowed to mention specific websites or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. So Industry United is a Facebook group that people could check out. They have shared a lot. I think I had another couple here too, but they've shared a lot of information about training, about free training or low-cost training that could improve a person's wine or beer knowledge, for instance, that might help prepare people to, as you say, pivot into a new career. I loved serving. And
me too.
Me too. I miss it, and I miss, the other servers I worked with. And I went through a real period of grief when I left. And I think that must be really hard, because nobody's stupid. People are looking at this situation like, what are we going to do? And I think I really feel for that, because it's financial and emotional distress. But that's where I would suggest starting is the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation, Southern Smoke Foundation, and Industry United are 3 places where you could begin looking for low-cost ways. Restaurant workers make a plan. And that I think we're going to have to make a plan. And to look at those kind of more cooperative models where it's not owner and employees, it's collectively owned businesses.
Hey, you killed it today. You were so good. Can we do this again moving forward?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. Guys, Claire did a great job on the program today. Kate Ellwood's going to join us in a couple of minutes. Kate Ellwood is the founder of the Charlottesville Restaurant Fund. She has collected donations from consumers and people in the industry, outside the industry, and she's going to indicate and explain how she's going to allocate what is a very deep bank account. Let me dot the I's and cross the T's on the interview we just had. For the servers that are watching the show, and I paid for my way through college, waiting tables across Charlottesville, started waiting tables at Ruby Tuesdays in Barracks Road as a first year at UVA, grew up since 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, in high school as a busboy and server. Waiting tables can be fun. It's stressful. It's invigorating. It's hard effing work. It's cash that night. It's opportunity. Serving in the restaurant industry doesn't generally discriminate from a job standpoint. You get people from all different kinds of backgrounds in restaurants. It's eclectic, it's high energy, it's fast-paced, it's fun, it's kick-your-ass, hard type of work. But when you're done, you drink a cold beer, you smoke a cigarette, you get money in your hand, you got money in your pocket, and you feel good about yourself because you did a honest day, hard work, honest days of work, and got paid for it. I'm going to straight up say this. The servers that are watching the show, you got to innovate, you got to pivot, you got to potentially broaden your horizon, because the amount of jobs that are going to be on the market after COVID-19, specifically in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, I'm telling you right now, is going to be, I hope half the jobs are still there. There is no category that employs more people in Charlottesville and Central Virginia than the restaurant category outside of UVA. UVA is 1, restaurant category 2, realtor category 3, real estate agents is number 3. UVA, restaurant, real estate agents. Most depth in each employment category. The second ranking on that list is the one that I think potentially is going to get hit hardest here in Charlottesville. Judah, our director, I'm going to try to get Kate on the line, giving you a heads up here. Kate Ellwood is going to join us in a couple of seconds, about 30 seconds or so, to spotlight her fun and just talk strategy and talk about, her life in restaurants. She was previously, and Kate, we'll go to you in about 15 seconds. She was previously the assistant general manager at Citizen Burger Bar on the Downtown Mall. When she was working there, undoubtedly one of the most fast-paced, high-volume, top-grossing restaurants in Charlottesville. I think that is without question safe to say. She has now started an awesome project called the Charlottesville Restaurant Fund. She's providing resources and many grants to people who have been impacted in this community. Kate, before we go down the road of the fund, why don't you just take a moment to introduce yourself to everybody that's watching? Who is Kate Ellwood and what is she all about? GM, my fault. Assistant General Manager, my bad. Good catch. Yeah.
July, left during a really good time. Only great things to say about Citizen. Left to spend more time with my daughter and work on, I've always wanted to do something of my own related to the restaurant industry. So I'm working part-time as a teaching assistant for kindergarten, and then I'm in the Charlottesville Investment Collaborative Program, working on starting my own nonprofit to help the restaurant community.
That's awesome. All right, so let's get to the fun. Dude, you are crushing it. I hear so many people, and you are so connected in this community. I hear so many of our common friends talking about what you're doing, especially when the word kind of got out that you were coming on the show. Talk to us about the Charlottesville Restaurant Fund, and are you surprised the progress and momentum you've had already, Kate? This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps coming from the industry, having those connections. That was 3.5 weeks ago. I reached out to Andy from Citizen, the owner, and a few other people in the community, in the restaurant industry. Kind of asked them what they thought of the fund. They liked the idea, and I just kind of ran with it. But yeah, it's been a little surprising just all the support it's getting from even outside of the restaurant community. We have musicians, which, you know, they're hurting right now too. So for them to step in and donate a portion of their proceeds from their streaming shows, it's just been so much amazing support from retail, musicians, just the community in general. So I started the fundraiser 3.5 weeks ago with a goal of $10,000, and we achieved that goal, I think, in a week. And so I put it to $20,000, did that in under 2 weeks. And so I thought for fun, like, why not add a zero and shoot for $200,000? So that's the current goal. Mm-hmm.
Kate Ellwood, our guest, the former general manager of Citizen Burger Bar in the Charlottesville downtown mall. Kate, I mean, 55,000 plus. I'm on the page right now. It's incredible. It shows how amazing Charlottesville is. Guys, just go to GoFundMe, Charlottesville Restaurant Community, Charlottesville Restaurant Fund. It's going to show up right away. She has a goal of $200K. You're over 25% of the way there. What is the plan when you reach 200,000? What is the plan with the current funds that are in the account?
Right. So through GoFundMe, the process, that's my first time setting up a GoFundMe fundraiser. And then I didn't quite realize that by the time the money is raised, if somebody donates, it takes a couple of days for that to go into a bank account. So in the beginning, it was a little bit of a process to disperse the funds as fast as I would like to. But now that's been resolved. And so we've already been able to help about 100 individuals who lost their jobs due to the closures of the restaurants. And it provides a $200 mini grant to individuals in need. And so we're hoping, with $200,000 can help a lot of people. And 200 might not sound like a lot to some people, but for, someone who's not generating any income right now, doesn't have a job, they have a family they have to support, that can mean, quite a difference to them in paying a bill, groceries, anything like that.
Oh, whoever is marginalizing the $200 mini grant, I mean, can just go hit the road, Jack. Yeah. Screw those people.
I feel like that too.
Yeah, I mean, what you're doing is so legit, and if anyone throws any hate to you, I would be like, screw you. Kate Ellwood is fabulous, people. All right, so throw this to you here. We're getting some questions coming in. I was talking about, and you helped set up the interview with Claire, so props to Kate. I want to give her props for that. She helped facilitate the interview with Claire, and it went extremely well. Just give us an idea from the front lines when you're the general manager at Citizen Burger Bar, front lines of servers, even in a good economy. And when you were working, the economy was crushing it. There were people out. What is a day-to-day like for a server on the front lines in Charlottesville, Virginia?
That's the thing. I think people have this misconception that these servers are just rolling in money all the time. And that's not how it is. Even if you're working in a popular restaurant, you're making a good living, but most of the servers and hosts and line cooks are still living paycheck to paycheck. And so when that stops overnight and you have nothing, most of these individuals don't have safety nets. They don't have a savings account. As you know, in restaurants, most people don't have health insurance. And if they did have it, now that they're laid off, most people aren't allowed to keep their health insurance. No severance pay. So while it's a great industry to make quick money, these people don't have, there's no payouts or, like I said, a severance plan benefits package given to them when they're laid off. And a lot of these people are either, young people who don't quite know how to manage their money yet. Of course, no one even thought this type of thing would happen, the whole coronavirus thing. So no one was planning for this big catastrophe. So it's a lot. I mean, if a server missed a shift and they were sick, they don't get sick days. And so missing one shift is a huge deal to a wait staff. So now it's about 3.5 weeks since most restaurants have been closed. So that's devastating. Yeah.
Kate Ellwood, guys, our guest. She's kind enough to join us on the I Love CVille Show. What are servers and the displaced restaurant staff in Charlottesville doing now in the short term that could be potentially long term?
I think, I do think the restaurant owners are trying to do their best to help their staff that they had to lay off. And by laying them off, they were able to claim unemployment right away, which is good for them. But most people haven't seen that first unemployment check come in yet. So that's going on almost 4 weeks without any money into their bank account. So restaurant owners are trying to give those individuals food from the restaurant, make sure they're at least having the basic needs met. And then some are trying to find jobs, but the job market, as you know, right now is not ideal. The job climate, it's mostly grocery stores. And that's, some people feel like that's a risk by working at a spot like that for their family. So it's not an ideal situation right now. I think once unemployment starts coming in, that will help people a little bit. But still, as you know, those unemployment numbers each week, the max amount that you can get, that might be like a server's amount they make in one night at a busy restaurant.
Do you think when we rebound, and I do think we're going to rebound, when we rebound, Kate, we're going to rebound in what capacity? Have you thought about the like how many restaurants are going to actually reopen again?
I've been doing a lot of reading about it. I like to read Eater and Bon Appetit and Grub Street, and they're predicting that 75% of local independent restaurants won't make it, which is a sad number. But I think it's really going to make a difference how our community helps out and responds. I think pushing people to do takeout and curbside when they can right now, these spots that are open, that's a huge deal to those spots that are staying open. And then, once the restaurants reopen, it's going to look a lot different. I think that's something no one quite can, wrap their head around what that's going to look like right now, the future of restaurants. I think we all know it's not going to be the same. And I think once restaurants reopen, like you said, they will reopen. But you might not need your whole wait staff on the floor. We don't know what those safety precautions are going to look like when people are told they can go back and gather at restaurants. So it might just be line cooks, and it could be it's going to be a totally different scene.
Ray Cadell brings up the important for us to highlight and emphasize the people in F&B that are in catering and events and working with weddings and working with all the stuff that's happening in the community through the vineyards, breweries, and wineries. They're basically servers, and they're impacted as well. Please don't forget this group, Jerry. So he wants me to throw that to you, Kate. How about this? I think your fund is brilliant. I thought what you were doing was needed. When you go and when you disperse the money here, you have a process of where you're kind of like vetting people that are asking. Put that in perspective, because that question is coming up on the feed.
No, that's a great question. It's one that's asked a lot, and that's the thing about these restaurant closures. It's not just affecting the wait staff and the back of house staff. It affects so many people, these restaurants closing, from the farmers, the delivery guys, the beer reps, like Ray just said, the catering business, the florists, the musicians. So it's really a trickle-down effect of how many people, are having a hard time right now with the restaurants being closed. I'm not being super picky when it comes to offering these mini grants. The criteria, you need to work in a Charlottesville restaurant. I wish I could offer it. I have people emailing from as far as like West Virginia, outside of this area, asking for help, saying they don't have anything like that in their town set up. I just wish I could offer more, but right now just focusing on Charlottesville. And we are offering it to people who work in catering, vineyards. We had people from Veritas reach out recently. So we're not being super selective. It's not just restaurants. So it is for the food community. Yep.
What's it like as a mom of a little girl in COVID-19? We're navigating it, my wife and I and our little boy, and it's been stressful. It's been emotional roller coaster. A tired toddler is a well-behaved toddler, and getting our kid, I don't know about your daughter, but getting our kid tired means going outside and going in the playground and doing stuff with other kids, and we can't do that now. So that's caused another layer, another dynamic that wasn't considered. I mean, what's it like how's your world?
I don't know.
How's your mental health? Are you doing well? You doing good?
This is a really good break for me.
Good.
Luke took me outside of the house so I could do this. I changed out of my sweatpants finally.
You look great, Kate.
Thanks. No, it's a roller coaster. We're outside like 5 hours every day, just like you said, trying to get us outside for our mental health. But I've been thinking the last few days, I think social distancing and staying at home, while it's difficult, I think we can say, and like a lot of people are lucky that we are so privileged to be safe in our homes and have like a comfortable house that we're okay staying at. And that's not true for everyone in our community. So while there's tons of ups and downs, and a 4.5-year-old is a lot of work trying to work on this fundraiser and make time for her throughout the day, I think we're really fortunate and lucky just for our health and not to worry about basic living needs right now. Well
said. COVID-19 fast-tracked what you were doing. I mean, it was like, because this was in the pipeline, and you got the entrepreneurial bug. You've had it for a while, and you love restaurants. How did COVID-19 and this pandemic fast-track your efforts?
Sure. Like you said, I think the restaurants in general, I think the topic of conversation about how they need to have more sustainable models and helping, the $2.13 an hour conversation. There's been a lot of changes needed in the restaurant scene. I hope now it gives people a chance to have the time to have those tough conversations and the future of the industry, really getting creative about what that might look like. But there's been lots of networking through the Charlottesville Investment Collaborative for me, lots of Zoom meetings set up, lots of outreach I can do at home, which I'd rather be doing in person. But it has really fast-tracked the amount of people who think this type of work is needed in Charlottesville for the restaurant community. And now I've started it more than, sooner than I would have liked to. But I'm happy to be doing it. So
our friend, and guys, Kate Ellwood is our guest. She has started a GoFundMe, and you can find it online very easily, Charlottesville Restaurant Community Fund. And she has she's just surpassing her goals. And now the threshold is $200,000. She had a brilliant idea, and the communities responded and rallied around her brilliant idea. $200,000 is the benchmark to raise. She's at $55,000, and she's offering many grants to people who have been negatively impacted in the restaurant industry in Charlottesville. I'm going to throw this question to you, and we got a lot of people that are watching. Catherine Matthews, good friend of ours, says this, and she's the owner of Iron Poffles and Coffee. She wanted us to highlight the restaurant community and the restaurant owners and the restaurant leadership from a female standpoint, and how it's really rallying together, coming together, and what you've seen from the front lines, because you're certainly on there, Kate.
Yeah, just a little thing. I can't see myself in the video anymore. I don't know if
you look great. You're still on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the Charlottesville Women in Food group that we have on Facebook, but they also meet up monthly. And that's definitely been more active during this time, and I'm really thankful for it. It's a great group of females who are business owners or in the food community, just coming together, sharing ideas, and that's definitely been so helpful and important during this time, especially just to have that community of women gathering together and sharing ideas. I think collectively we all hope and wish for some more media attention for what the females are doing in the community. I think it's been a lot of male-centered, and any help is great. So, everyone in this community right now is doing amazing things, but just bringing to light the women-owned businesses, I think, do need to be in the spotlight some more.
Are you surprised at all, and we talked about this, and Catherine put a list together, Catherine Matthews, are you surprised of how underrepresented female ownership is in restaurants in Charlottesville and Central Virginia?
I don't think it's surprising, just because that's kind of how it's been in restaurant industries for a long time. It's been kind of the man's world. So no, it's not surprising, but I think I think they could use some more support, and there are so many female-owned businesses in town and in the restaurant industry that need some love as well.
Alicia Wash-Knoll is watching the program. She's got a question for you. She's giving you some props. Chris Skipper's giving you some props. Alicia says, Kate, this is amazing. Thank you for your hard work. She has this question, or a couple questions. Are you able to reach the most vulnerable staff, the back of the house who don't have smartphones, computers, or cars, the undocumented people that work at restaurants, the non-English speakers? Good questions there from Alicia, good friend of the program. Thoughts on that one, Kate?
As far as outreach, a lot of the people reaching out to me nominating staff have been the restaurant owners and managers themselves. I am trying to reach out to a broader community and just get the word out to as many people as I can. And people can self-nominate, and you can nominate people you know as well. It's just CVilleRestaurantFund@gmail.com. If you want to nominate someone, that's fine. We just request that you provide a manager contact number for that. And we don't have any, it's not just for servers, it's not just for hosts or tipped wait staff, it's also for line cooks. We've actually helped more line cooks and back of house people so far than front of house.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Two more questions for you, and then just go anywhere you want. The show's yours. Restaurant landscape when we're done with this, what do you see it as?
I think for a while it's going to be, people are going to expect this delivery model. I mean, so many people are online now doing mobile ordering, and so I think going forward that's going to be an expectation, and if you're not doing it, it's something you need to start doing. I think it's something restaurants thought maybe 10 to 15 years from now that would be the big thing, more of like an automated restaurant where you put your order in on your phone, you go pick up your food. And now it kind of happened overnight. So I think just restaurants getting on top of that technology and how they can incorporate that into their business model.
Well said. I agree 100%. All right, anywhere you want to go. Charlottesville's listening here. Perspective you've seen, anything inspirational. I mean, it doesn't even have to be positive. It can be down in the dumps if you want to go that way, too. You can go anywhere you want to go with Charlottesville watching. Final word is yours, Kate.
I think it's easy to focus on the negative things, and I think I'm like a big note taker, so I wrote lots of notes down before today about things I wanted to talk about. And I think for restaurants, we could talk about this for days before we touch base on every single person that's affected in the restaurant industry with this COVID-19, the closures. So I think now is a time, we're 3.5 weeks in for most restaurants closing their doors. I think it's a time for more voices to come together in the community, to rally around each other and really get creative about what the future looks like for our restaurant industry in Charlottesville. And then also using our voices to speak up for the landlords. There's still landlords that are asking restaurant owners to pay rent when there's no money coming in. And we don't want a landscape of the downtown mall or other, areas of town where we have empty storefronts. It's not good for the restaurant owners. It's not good for the property managers. And it's not good for the employees who don't have a job to come back to because they're being forced out of their spot that they're renting. So I think that's something most people don't know, is that restaurant owners don't usually own the buildings that they're in. They usually rent them. And so just having a big push for property managers and landlords in our town to be more lenient, not just with the people renting, the restaurant staff, they need help too, but the owners. It's impossible for them to pay rent right now when they're not bringing in money.
Great interview. People are asking, Chris Skipper and a few other people are asking how they can volunteer for the Charlottesville Restaurant Fund, and they're grateful that you're supporting the community. How about the volunteer question?
That's a really good question. That's something I'm starting. I think I mentioned to you how there's a nonprofit that wanted to partner with me, and that is going to be happening this week. They wish to remain anonymous right now, so I can't speak too much of that, but that'll be great to have a nonprofit step in, help out with logistical and financial aspects of the fundraiser. And then I do have people starting this morning. I had my friend Ashley. She also used to GM at Citizen before I was the general manager.
I remember Ashley. She's great. Yeah.
She was just reaching out and saying, I can help you. I want to help our restaurant community. So I am going to start, gathering people in the industry to help spread the word and do some volunteer work in the community.
I mean, is the plan to, you want to turn this into a full nonprofit, obviously, but what does is it a work in progress every day? As COVID-19 changes, it's tough to have a business model in place, right? When we don't know when we can leave our living room.
Right.
What's the model when this is done?
When this is done, my goal is to provide workshops, training, resources, have an office where people can come in and get that support, not just for the restaurant staff, but for the owners as well. I think a lot of people could get upset with the owners and say, why didn't you have this in your contingency plan? And nobody planned for this.
Right.
So you can't, there's no blame to be placed on anyone. And I think just having a nonprofit that's really geared towards, hey, this is what they're doing in New York and bigger cities, maybe we can do something like that on a smaller scale in Charlottesville. So just, having more of a conversation throughout the year within the restaurant community of things we can do to make it better.
So this came up on the show right now. So we have a client. It's Patty Zeller, who owns Animal Connection in the McIntyre Plaza behind CVille Coffee. And Patty's watching you, and she's impressed with you. She left a comment in the stream, also sent me a DM, and she says, please tell your great guests that we can offer free dog or cat food to any of the servers or any of the back of the house employees that have lost their jobs and don't have money now. We can feed their pets on us.
That's amazing. I love that. Thank you so much.
I'll do after the show. I'll link you guys on Facebook Messenger. So Patty, I'll link you with Kate of the Charlottesville Restaurant Fund, and then you guys take it from there. Are you last thing? And you're the best. Thank you so much. Are you skeptically positive here? Because you're a mom, you got a kid, you're launching a business, you gotta feed your kid, you gotta pay the rent, you're launching a business. Shit is hitting the fan now for all of us. This is a perfect example here is, what is your level of optimism, caution, hope? Where are you from the mind standpoint here?
Well, I think, like you said, every day is different with this virus, and we don't know too much about it and how it's going to progress. I do think now that the peak is going to be in a few weeks for Virginia, that it's more important than ever to support the businesses that are still open. So if you're somebody who would usually go to a restaurant 2 or 3 times a week and you can still do that, please reach out to these local restaurants and order food from them, because it's only going to get more difficult for them to stay open.
Nice. You rock. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. And Judah, let's get the link from her for the Charlottesville Restaurant Fund to include in the package. Kate Ellwood, boys and girls, she crushed it, of the Charlottesville Restaurant Fund. She started a fund a few weeks ago, and it already has over $55,000 in it for Charlottesville restaurant workers that are in need. She's the former general manager at Citizen Burger Bar in the Charlottesville Downtown Mall. Smart, organized, really has it going on. All right, so I want to dot the I's and cross the T's on today's show. These are the type of topics that we covered on today's program. The servers that are watching the show, bullet point, dot the I's, cross the T's. Servers that are watching the show, when the industry opens back up again, there's going to be we know there's going to be a cutback on jobs. We hope it's, half the jobs are still there. She referenced somebody that's a prominent restaurateur that says 75% of local restaurants will be gone when this doesn't open, when we open back up from COVID-19. I think that's a stretch, because I think Charlottesville's a little bit more insulated from an economy standpoint. The economy's stronger around here. We have the university. We need the university to open up again. Where I'm going with this is, if you're a server watching the show, it's time to pivot and potentially innovate within the restaurant category or potentially another category, because the writing that's on the wall here is, and this goes for weddings and events and catering as well, the writing that's on the wall here is we're potentially heading into an economic landscape where we're relying on this, eating food from a restaurant, but eating it in our living room or in our bedroom or on our deck or on our front porch or on a picnic, and not necessarily in the dining room. So keep that in mind. Other things that I learned here is this community is generous. $55,000 already for the Charlottesville Restaurant Fund. That is big time baller from Kate Ellwood and what she is doing. I am so impressed with that. Support that cause, guys. Tomorrow's show, we're going to have Erin Lunsford on the program, and she's going to play some live music on the I Love CVille show. She's doing live streaming Tuesdays at 7. So we're going to get her on the show tomorrow to promote her live stream and help her get awareness for what she's trying to do. Because now musicians, just like servers, think about it. Think about this. Waiters right now and servers and waitresses, they're in limbo. Bar managers in limbo. Think about the people that rely, the Travis Elliott's of the world. Think about the Michael Clems of the world. Okay? The people that play live gigs 5-6 days a week to pay their bills. Where are they playing live gigs? Right? Think about the realtors that are watching the program. There's very little inventory that is going on the market right now. And the reason there's very little inventory going on the market right now is folks are hesitant to have agents and foot traffic through their home because of COVID-19. Brave new world, baby. Brave new world. I'm glad Claire came on the program. Thank you to Kate for coming on the show. Judah, you did a bang-up job today. Live music tomorrow. We're going to talk real estate tomorrow. We're going to talk UVA tomorrow on the I Love CVille show. We'll talk a little local government as well. We're going to keep trying to bring you knowledge. Knowledge bombs is all we're trying to do. It's the I Love CVille show. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you for joining us.